So today we're going to be talking about networking and informational interviews, which is also a form of networking. I always like to tell people that your network is your net worth. Any career counselor can tell you that the more people you know, the bigger your network, particularly if it's within your field or something that you're aspiring to, the less time you're going to have in the job market. So, it's very important that this is a life skill. It's not just till you land your next job. Very important that you know how to do this and know how to do it professionally. So the agenda is what is professional networking and also what is informational interviewing, which is also a way to build your network. So what is professional networking? It's a deliberate activity to build, reinforce, and maintain relationships of trust with other people to further your professional goals. It's always amazing to me that people will call me, which I haven't heard from 10 years, which is okay, and ask me if, they look at my LinkedIn and they see I'm connected to someone that they want to talk to, and they just want me to write an introduction for them. Well, or even more absurd than that is they'll say, oh, I see you're connected to someone and my husband is looking for work, and could you put him in touch with someone that you're connected to? So that's really not a way to develop trust. You have to have more skin in the game. If you want to do that, which is what I'm encouraging in this, you have to at least put some time into it to get, I would be happy to do it if someone said, I want to spend some time with you. I want to catch up with you in terms of what I've been doing. Just get to know each other a little bit more before I put myself out there and introduce them to someone I know. So it takes some work. It's not just simply, oh, I see you know that person, introduce me. You need to, when times go back, get a cup of coffee, or now at least spend some time in at least a telephone call or a Zoom call, just so that the person feels comfortable in terms of putting your name next to theirs. It's the same thing like on a LinkedIn recommendation, where someone's going to write you something on your LinkedIn and they're going to put their picture next to you. You need to have some kind of a trust for them to do that. So you need to prepare to network. You have to know yourself. We talked a lot in this series about branding, know who you are. Research your field, recent trends, and specific target companies. Have a specific goal in mind, develop questions and use a plan, and identify a list of people who can help you. So you need to be prepared, present, and proactive. This is very important that you do this before you start. I worked for Right Management, which is one of the big outplacement companies, for 12 years. And the first thing we did when people came to us for a service was to prepare them for what their reason for leaving was. Just to answer some of these questions for them so that they didn't just, your first reaction is, oh my God, who do I know? And, call those people and say, I need your help. And some of these people would love to help you, I'm sure, but they don't know what it is, who you are, or what your brand is, and they don't know what you're looking for. So it's very important that you do these things, be prepared, be present, and proactive. So you need to have your elevator pitch, right? That's a very important thing. We've talked about this before. If you want more information, go back to the former recordings. So here's one that I had used once when I was in sales, consultative sales. I have over 10 years of business development experience. I have met or exceeded my goals in my last 2 companies. In my last company, I was elected to their President's Club for achieving 200% of my goal. I would like to use my sales skills and purchasing context for a well-established firm such as yours, where my growth potential is only limited by my own abilities. So if you don't have an elevator pitch, I suggest before you even attempt to network that you need to have this down. Now, of course, an elevator pitch is not stagnant. It's going to change by who your target audience is. A lot of you have more than one target. So it's going to change if you're, let's say you're a communications major, one of the things one target that you might have is PR, and the other might be, market research, let's say. So you're going to have these it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to, what you choose to highlight to this person to impress them is going to be different. But you want to be able to have that down and to be able to practice it so that you're saying it in a personable way. Because I've said many times in the past, people make business decisions for personal reasons. So you can't sound stiff. It has to sound natural, but you have to know it. You have to know what it is that you're going to say. So where are these relationships that we're talking about? How do you find relationships? The answer is that they're everywhere. They're at social events. So whenever you have a chance to go to something, whether it's a Zoom event or a social event in person, which will be happening more and more, you're going to meet people, right? You still need maybe not such a formal elevator pitch, but you want to be able to reestablish relationships with these people. During party season, maybe during 4th of July parties, you'll meet some people who might know you, but they might not know you in a professional light. So you want to be able to tell them a little bit about yourself and what you're looking for. Previous employers. Whenever I'm working with someone and we're talking about where to network, I look at their resume and I look at where they worked previously and said, what about this company? What about that company? Sometimes they didn't even think about it. They worked at the place 5 years ago. They thought that was over and gone. No, these people are, if you had a good relationship and you were not let go for, cause, they're the people who know you best in a work setting. So you want to go back to them and see if they'll know someone in the target area that you're looking at. That's your most usual suspects. Relatives or neighbors. Even though as I said, again, you know somebody, but you never know who they know. And it's amazing how somebody can be connected or even have a second connection to someone that exactly who you're looking for in the field or company that you're looking for. Professional associations are one of the best. MANG is the Marketing Executive Networking Group. FANG is the Financial Executive Networking Group. And SHRM is the Society for Human Resource Networking Group. All of these are, to join, sometimes you need to be endorsed by someone, but not to just go to meetings. And there are meetings of all those, and I'm sure a lot of the professions that you're in that meet or will meet again in the city, and they're meeting online now. So if you are in a profession, try to find out who your professional association is, or if you're changing back to a profession that you once were in and you want to pivot back to it, rejoin that, because you're going to see who's part of it. And within those associations, you're going to see they list jobs. If they have a LinkedIn group, they'll list jobs that you don't see in the mainstream, search engines. And you get to know the jargon of that profession again. It's very important that you present yourself as an insider to that profession. So professional associates, and subscribe to their publications that are still going on now. That's another way to see what's going on within your profession. Volunteer work. Oftentimes when people want to get into a profession that they have not been in before or have not been in for a long time, a good way to do that is just to volunteer, especially if things are back live, because first of all, that's going to be right at the top of your resume as a recent thing that you've done, as opposed to maybe the last number of years doing something that's not within your profession. So it'll be right there at the top. And just because you don't get paid for something doesn't mean it doesn't count as experience. Employers will look at that as experience if you've done it to some extent. I mean, if you volunteered once every 3 months, that's not showing that much dedication. But if you've been volunteering and, you know, spending some time really getting to know an organization, and many times people start as volunteers and wind up getting a job in an organization. So pick your the places that you volunteer with carefully, so that you're not just wasting time, that you can be doing job search. Pick an organization that you would like to work in if they had worked for someone like you. That's an important thing, because, you know, looking for work is a full-time job. So if the volunteer work is not getting you there, then you should reevaluate it. Part-time employment, another thing, even better than volunteer work, because you're getting paid. And if it's employment within your profession, you know, I know a lot of you have taken employment just because you've got to pay the rent, and there's no shame about that. Many people do. But if you could work in some part-time jobs that are within your target, that's even a better thing. It's a better thing yet. Or contract work, which is part-time work sometimes. But here we go again, at Starbucks, on an airplane, at a doctor's office. When I was in sales, you know, selling coaching as opposed to doing coaching, I talked to everybody. Because as I said, you know, you never know. You never know who you're standing next to, and who that person is connected to. So be more chat. If you're an introvert, I know this is very hard to do, but, you know, people are very receptive. And if you can just take yourself out of your comfort zone and be a little more chatty than you normally will, you'd be surprised how many people you might find that can help you. Face group books. Again, you know, identifying face group books that are apropos to what you're trying to achieve, the target. And the best and not least, the PACE Alumni Association. So I was just asking Phil, will, you know, will some of the things, they do a wonderful group. This is a big group of people that are working at PACE Alumni Association. And they have meetings, regional meetings, local meetings, all kinds of networking opportunities. They are coming back to some kind of hybrid online and in person. Phil was just telling me, and that will be more so as time goes by. So tap into your PACE Alumni Association. Okay, LinkedIn. I hope a lot of you were with us last time. I had a guest speaker, Rob Hellman, who is works with LinkedIn and is an expert in that. If you didn't have a chance to hear that, you can do so, like Phil was saying, go to the past events and listen to the recording, and you can also get the PowerPoint, because LinkedIn is the best way to build your network quickly. And as this is a slide from Rob's presentation, so let's say you have, you know, LinkedIn only works, it works better with the more connections you have yourself, the more people you know personally. So if you have 381 of your own connections, that means that they with their connections, there's already 116,000, over 116,000 connections that you have. And then even 3 degrees away, that gets you over 5,000. And these are people that you reach through friends or one of their friends. But remember what I said at first, you need to spend time with those people along the way, as opposed to, oh, I know you're connected. Like I just, you know, said in the beginning, there needs to be some trust. You need to tell them who you are before they're going to introduce you to one of their first degree or second degree connections. So the total user could connect through an introduction is over 5,000. And then what you might remember from that, if you saw it, you can join up to 50 groups. And when you're a member of a group, you can connect to them like it's a first degree connection. So it's terrific. You can't reach out to your second degree connections, but you can reach out to someone who's a member of a group. So joining a group is a wonderful thing. Sometimes they wait a day to give a permission to make sure that you're really in that profession. But I highly recommend, if you haven't used that feature on LinkedIn, join some groups. And if you don't know what the name of the group is, just type, sometimes LinkedIn will look at your resume and they will suggest a group to you, or you can just type in accounting and it will suggest groups that are in accounting, and you look at those groups for how many members there are, how professional you think it is. Sometimes maybe geography. Maybe the groups are more centered in New York. So just know the numbers. This is what I can't tell you enough. Only 10%, maybe 20, jobs are filled through advertisement, meaning all your search engines, going to LinkedIn, going to Indeed, applying, and usually you don't get any feedback. 80% are filled through networking. And it always amazes me that people spend 80% of their jobs, their time, filling out applications and going online because it's so easy. Wow, there's a job right there. I'm going to type it. I'm going to send my resume off. I'm going to type a little cover letter. And the job, it's much easier to do that, especially for more people, than networking. But I have to tell you that that is a very reactive way to do job searching, because by the time that job is listed, it's already, many times it's outdated and it's already filled, and you're in a very competitive market. It doesn't work at all if you're changing jobs or you're not the round peg in the round hole. So there's 80% of jobs are filled through networking. So while it seems more arduous to do it, that is the way to get jobs. And when I see people who come to my counseling and they have a terrific resume, a terrific elevator pitch, the thing that's the most obvious, I say, how are you looking? And the people who are least successful are saying, well, I've filled out 10,000, jobs online, through LinkedIn. And that is usually the area. That's usually where the problem lies, because they're being reactive, even though it seems like they're doing a lot of work. So what makes for a good networking meeting? Okay. You want to gather information that's going to be helpful to your career goals. You're going to be offering, it's a two-way street now. You're going to offer information helpful to your contacts. You're going to share a list of other contacts you identified. Who else do they know? I'm going to talk about where that list comes from in a minute. You're going to take notes. You can ask for permission and be prepared to follow up in a letter or email to thank them for their time. And the takeaway, the best takeaway, is to leave the meeting with additional contacts. Now, remember, when you call a networking meeting or later on an informational networking meeting, you're calling the meeting, so you're running the meeting, right? So you don't wait for someone else to do it. You have a goal in mind, so it's up to you to get all the things that you want out of it to make it a good meeting. So here's the list. I suggest to people that they put together what I call a marketing plan. And a marketing plan it could be your contact information on top, maybe your little profile section, but mostly what it is a list of your targets. What are the companies that you're trying to go after? So the best way to search, no matter what kind of job market, is to know. That's why it's so important, so important to identify what your target is. And a target is an industry or a type of industry, a function, and a geography, right? Because if you change any of those, like if you were wanting to do market research in the consumer product industry in New York, a list of companies would fall out of that you could find. You could Google or go to the library. However, if you change any of those elements and you want to now look at that same thing, market research for consumer products in Washington, D.C., there might be different companies there. So you want to have your target companies in front of you every day and go on their website and see, because the website's going to be more current than it would be for a search engine. See if there's anything that's appropriate for you there. But don't stop there and then apply. You can apply, send your resume and however they tell you to apply. But don't stop there. Then you want to see how you can network into those companies, right? That's the trick, that list every day. When I lost my corporate job in the financial crisis in 2009, I followed this advice. I was trying to get back on the horse in consulting jobs, and it took me 6 months to do, but I had my A list, I had my B list, my plan A and my plan B companies in front of me, and I was constantly looking for who could introduce me into them. So this is where you want to use your LinkedIn. You know, on LinkedIn, you go to the first thing is to go to the PACE website and look for alumni. And if you go down PACE web, there'll be a list on the left-hand side. You press alumni, and then under alumni, it'll pop up, it'll say where they work. So if you're in New York, it'll be New York, which is over 44,000. Where they work, and that's where there's a little plus at the top. If you don't see the companies you're looking at, you just add these companies one by one and see who went to PACE. Take a look at their profiles, and that's how you can connect with them. So here's something that I want to share. All contacts are not created equal. Remember that list of contacts in the beginning? We had some people on the elevators. We have some people in professional, where you used to work. They're not all equal. So you want to measure your contacts. Knowing the stages of your contacts will be a real determining factor in whether your networking is progressing in a positive direction and getting you closer to real job opportunities. So what I call stage 1 contacts. These are people you know and with whom you are currently in contact on an ongoing basis. So it could be someone who cuts your hair, it could be your accountant, it could be your neighbor, okay? People who can provide you with information, resources, and help validate your business. So these include PACE alumni, current and former colleagues, coworkers, okay? And you want to try to keep in contact with these people at least once a month. You know, just hi, how are you? You know, anything new? If you know them a little and maybe you run across some articles, it's always good to share because you want this to be a two-way street. So you want to be able to keep them in mind, but put a little tickler file and say, gee, I haven't talked to that person in a month or two. I'm going to reestablish my contact with them. So that's kind of stage 1 contacts. Stage 2 contacts are people who are at the right level in the right jobs in the right companies. Now, maybe you've been introduced to them by stage 1 contacts, right? So at the right level in the right jobs in the right companies. People are generally 1 or 2 levels above you in position or seniority. The reason that's preferable to a peer is that people who are higher in the organization, 1 or 2 levels, they usually have a better purview of what's going to happen to the talent resources in that company. They know kind of who's not working out, where the company might be growing. So they might be able to give you more information than a peer. And also, sometimes somebody who's your peer who just got a job there is, you pass your resume along, and sometimes they're just nervous for their own job. As horrible as it is to say, sometimes people get nervous that they, will be let go and you'll get a job. So it's better to deal with people who are 1 or 2 levels above you. So these contacts include someone who recently landed a job within your target area, a first-line supervisor, or a potential hiring manager. So these are the people that you want to be, as your networking progresses, you want to be in contact with these stage 2 contacts. And then finally, stage 3 contacts, people who actually have job openings, advancement opportunities, or a new client. So these are the people who we might say to you, wow, John, you're terrific, and I don't have anything now, but should something open up, you're just the kind of person that we would look for, right? So this is that hidden network. Some stage 2 contacts can become stage 3. They now actually have a job opportunity or referral, and they can include hiring managers, department heads, or human resources. And so you want to advance your job search from stage 1, which is just your neighbor, which could lead you to something, to now you're talking to the people who could find a job or would have a job that you could possibly gain employment through them. And getting a job is a numbers game, right? You want to have 6 to 10 of things in the works all the time, right? I was dealing with someone this week who has one potential opportunity, and they're a good candidate. They're probably the leading candidate, and I hope it happens for them. But if you only are chasing one thing, if that falls apart through sometimes no fault of your own, maybe the nephew of the CEO comes along and they have to give it to him, or the job gets backburnered, right? Or something happens, then that job goes away. You've been counting on it. You know, it's like putting all your eggs in one basket. You're going to be very, you know, sort of always the wind is going to go out of your sails for a while, and you're going to have to, it's going to take a while to pick yourself up. And I'm sure some of you have been in that situation. So try to have a lot of things going, even if you think that you're close to something or one or two things, keep going, get some activity, because the more activity, the more likely you are to land. So those are the 3 different stages. Be organized. It's important that you get however you can keep a spreadsheet, because if you're networking, you're going to sometimes forget who led you to that third person, right? So you want to know who referred you so that you can go back when all is said and done and thank them, or be able to say to them, you know, Mike, thank you so much for introducing me to Roger, because Roger was able to introduce me to Fran, and Fran knew somebody who had a job for me. So keep your, and this will also let you know, it'll keep you organized, and it'll also know like the status of these things, right? So if you talk to this person, John, you know the company and title, when you talk to them, who they referred you to, and what's the status? Do you have to circle back to them, or do they owe you something? And if there's an action, what should you take? And maybe the action is simply send them something in your, you know, that you're going to run across in your search. Because remember, a lot of people who are working have their heads down, and you might find things because you're looking in that profession. You might find articles or things which they don't know about because they don't have the time and they're not out there talking to other people. So you could be a valuable resource to them, and you'd have something to offer. So here's the general fears, and I know a lot, this is a harder thing to do if you're an introvert, but let's just address that elephant in the room. So the general fears of talking to strangers. But what do I have to offer in return? I feel like I am bothering them, right? I don't know how to start. These are very common amongst even people who are not introverts. I'm not sure what I want to do. Now, this is something that you shouldn't start networking, as I said, until you know what you want to do or have some idea, because they're not your career counselors. So you want to reframe those networking concerns. What do I have to offer in return to someone with whom I'm networking? Reframe it to show genuine interest and enthusiasm. Being a good listener is a great start. People like to talk about themselves, so just being a good listener is good. Over time, you can better understand what else you might be able to do. So just, you know, knowing what's going on with them, you know, how their life has been, particularly, we all have COVID in common now, that whole year and a half that we've been through. I feel like I'm bothering them. Networking is not asking for a job. It might lead to a job, but it's not asking for a job. You're just getting to know somebody. That's all it is. Most people are flattered by being approached as the expert. And if a person looks annoyed or disengaged, respect their time and space and move on. Will everyone, if you write a LinkedIn note, will everyone, you know, rush to, you know, respond to you? No, but it doesn't matter, because if a few people do, then you're a winner, because those are more people than you had before. And also, many companies, and there's going to be more of a war for talent again, many companies have they have bonuses that they give if an employee of theirs refers someone and that person works out. So sometimes, you know, someone can get up to $1,000 for possibly referring you, and you become a good employee. So it's not just what you're asking, it's sometimes you're doing them a good deed as well. So now let's talk about informational interviews. It's similar to networking, but not quite. I mean, it could result in the same thing. So oftentimes people are confused about what their target should be. They have a plan A. I always say it's okay, you have a plan A and a plan B and even a plan C, but start with one. So they're not sure. They think they want to go into, you know, business analytics, but they're not exactly sure what that is. So what they want to do is do two things. One is what I call secondary research, which is looking online and reading about what it is. You know, you can read job descriptions and read about what it is. You can Google it. But the most important thing is to talk to people who hold that position, right? To be able to obtain information about whether the career is truly what you want. So you want to learn about a specific industry firsthand from a professional in the field and determine whether or not a potential career or company is a good match for you. I did this myself when I was in my own career consulting business. After I worked for a university, I had my own career consulting business, but it was very hard because, you know, I wasn't used to taking money from people who were out of work, and it was just not a way to really, or if the flu would happen and I would lose 2 weeks, you know, business. So I said, you know, where can I use my counseling skills and my knowledge of college recruiting to monetize what I'm doing? And I thought, whoa, I was living in an affluent area at the time. I can become a college counselor. You know, those are the people who advise college kids, high school kids on getting into college. I thought this is a natural, and what I'm going to do is I made an appointment with someone who was the, you know, had the most successful college counseling business in the area. And when I went to see her, I thought instantly she's going to say, wow, your skills are terrific. And, you know, even better than that, she was going to hire me. But instead, when I told her my elevator pitch and who I was and really what I was looking for, immediately she said, this is not for you. And I was shocked. I was shocked because I thought I had this made. And she said, because you told me at the beginning that you had 3 young kids at home at the time, and you want to be working when they're in school and home in the evening. And she said, Marilyn, I start my day at 4 o'clock because that's when the high school kids are through, and I go to 10, 11 o'clock at night. And she was right. It's something about that field that I never would have known by reading about it. So that's why, you know, obtaining information, getting informational interviews are very important to help you clarify whether that target is right for you before you go on a full-blown search of getting your resume together, your cover letters, your marketing documents, your marketing plan and all that. You want to make sure this is the right field for you. So informational interviewing is not asking for a job or potential job openings. It's a casual conversation. It's similar to a job interview, but it's not asking for a job. So you have to prepare, just like you would do for networking, you prepare for an informational interview. Do your research again. The company, the industry, the position, and the person that you're going to be speaking to, particularly the person that you're talking to. You want to read their LinkedIn profile, Google them, find out who it is you're talking to. Remember, you're running the meeting, right? Don't expect to sit back and let them ask you questions. You're not being interviewed. You're running that meeting. Prepare relevant questions for them. Rehearse your pitch, outlining your professional background and accomplishments. Whoops. And so you want to start off by saying, you know, Sharon, thank you so much for spending, you know, for agreeing to spend 10 minutes for me. I really wanted to hear all about what business analytics is like. You know, I'm interested to ask you all these questions, but before I do, I'd like, if you don't mind, I'd like to just tell you a little bit about myself and my professional background. I think this will help you help me. So this is how you do your pitch without sounding like you don't just come on and do your pitch strong, because they're going to go, whoa, wait a second. You just said you want information and now you're pitching me. And that could turn someone off if it looks like you're being aggressive and you're asking for a job, right? So you want to be able to preface your pitch with the fact that the reason you're even telling about yourself at all is so that they can be better at helping you. So have relevant questions. These are some questions you might ask. How did this type of work interest you? How did you get started? How did you get your job? What jobs and experiences have led you to your present position? Can you suggest some ways a student, or if you're not a student, could obtain this necessary experience? And what are the most important satisfactions and challenges connected with your occupation? You'll have this when you get the PowerPoint, so you don't have to write these questions down. So you set it up by email or connect on LinkedIn. Identify the link between you and them. Why do you, how'd you find that? Clearly state why you are writing. Give your professional summary or pitch. Request no more than 20 minutes of their time. Indicate how and when you will follow up, and accommodate their schedule. That's the most important. People are busy. Maybe you can meet them, if life goes back, you meet them, to have a cup of coffee before work, or at their coffee break, or if they can do lunch or something after work, or a link or a Zoom meeting any of the time, but it's on their time frame, not yours, right? So to set up an information, this is written a little bit by students, so you have to forgive me, but you just can upgrade it. Dr. Alan Hodgkins, my journalism professor at Pace, recommended you as a colleague and professional who has a lot of knowledge about careers in the field of print media. Upon a suggestion, I'm writing to introduce myself and request a possible meeting with you, right? Identify the link and why you're reaching out to them. I graduated from Pace with a major in journalism communication. My interest in print was sparked during my role as co-editor of the campus newspaper, The Chronicle. I had a prior internship in TV production, but now wish to explore the field of newspaper journalism. So you use your pitch, and then would it be possible, this is the ask, to have a 15-20 minutes of your time in the near future. I'm sure you're extremely busy, but I'd be very grateful. If you can fit me into your schedule, I'll give you a call next week to see if this would be possible. Thank you for your consideration, and best regards from Dr. Hodges. So this is a kind of a contact email. So the call for action. Identify the link, use your pitch, and have a call for action. Reaching out on LinkedIn. Don't just say you want to connect. Don't use the generic. You want to say something about yourself, a personal note. It says optional. Take away that word optional. It's not optional. Carol, I'm a Pace University sophomore marketing major and saw your very impressive profile as a member of the Pace Career Group. I think you would have some great advice about entering the field of marketing. I would like to connect with you for an informational interview. Many thanks. So you want to send that invitation, a personalized, LinkedIn note. So when you email someone, when you have a referral is gold. In the subject line of the referral, write referral's name, referred by so-and-so, nothing else, not the job you're looking at, not anything about you, because people, as you know, even if you work or not working, you get barraged by email, but no one is going to ignore an email that has a referral, even if they don't recognize the name. You don't want to insult anyone that you might know. So use on that subject line, referred by. This is very important in getting through to that person. So the benefits of informational interviews: you learn more about your field, industry of interest, and potential occupations. You can confirm your choice of majors or your occupation for you folks, your alumni, the occupation that you want. You identify professional strengths and weaknesses connected to your field. People will say to you, well, wow, I really am impressed by this. That would look great in business analytics, but you really need to have more Excel. I think you might need to take a course in Excel to really be able to start applying for jobs. So you might see the gaps, the skill gaps that way. You can gain confidence in speaking with employers and improve your ability to network, expand your opportunities, and allow you to connect with employers in your field, because you're not asking for a job, you're asking for information. An opportunity to develop and promote your professional brand. That's always practice, practice your elevator pitch, practice talking to people in your field, use them as part of your network. And you have access to the unadvertised job market through personal referral. Because when, I was a recruiter, the first thing I do when I got a job spec from a business leader is to say, who do I know? You look around and say, who do I know? No one wants to go out there on a search engine and look at resumes from where 90% of these people are not really qualified and they're strangers. I don't know if they're, there's nothing that beats a personal referral about your work ethic and who you are, as opposed to just, going online. And that is the reason that there's applicant tracking systems, the computers that are looking at your resume before recruiters do, because there's just not enough people to screen resumes. And so that's why we have these ATS systems and why we have to write your resume so that they're going to get through those ATS systems with the right format and the right keywords. So this is the kind of a schematic. Know your elevator pitch and practice it. Ask great questions, identify the purpose for the conversation, be enthusiastic. Enthusiasm will get you very far. Do your research, and you're in a conversation, not asking for a job. It's just a conversation about what this person is doing. And, as I said, people like to talk about themselves. They like to talk about how they got into a certain career. So some actions you can take now. Reconnect with people you already know. Use LinkedIn and other social media to see who else you know and who are your connections. You can import your network at LinkedIn. You can import your Gmail and your other things right there, right quickly. Start a targeting map to keep track of your search. Remember, we talk about the companies, know the companies that you're, trying to target. Strive for informational meetings within your target area, and follow up. The things that the reason that people, in the first slide I said your network is your net worth, is that what people do is once they land, they stop networking. They don't go to professional meetings. They use the work excuse, and it's a valid excuse that they're busy, as an excuse not to connect anymore. And I always, when I was working with HR people, I would get on my soapbox and say, you need to make time for this, because one day this job can end and you're going to be out there by yourself. So you need to keep your network going in any way you can, because that will just help you. So that's it. I'm back here now. So I think we'll take a couple of questions. I just have time for a couple of questions.
Yeah, let me just thank you very much, Marilyn. Very
welcome.
Insightful as always. Just to quickly note on the resources available to PACE alumni, we've got definitely PACE groups on social media. We also have a PACE alumni group on LinkedIn, and the alumni can send the request note, and my colleagues and I gonna accept that request. We also do have alumni accounts, which are available at alumni.pace.edu. That's a self-reported profile, so you can also log in, or if you need help, you can send a message. It's all on our website. You can send a message to pacealum@pace.edu, and I will send you instructions on how to log in. So you can search your classmates, you can search people by all self-reported information like regions and industries and all that. So that's another way to reconnect and network. And we also do have other volunteer opportunities with PACE, such as alumni student mentoring program, and some others. You can find also how to be involved with PACE and, be closer to our resources and to your peers who also shown interest in volunteering and giving back to the university. It's all on our website, alumni.pace.edu. You can at all times send a message to us, and we'll talk to you more about that. Any